Welcome to Sipping Reality X with Jill and
Megan.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. You pressed record on the first first try.
Oh, I don't know if Sipping Reality X listeners know about that.
Oh, because you got really good at it.
For a really long time, I would hit play instead of record, and we would try and talk, and it wouldn't pick up our vocals, and I'd be like, "What's wrong?"
You're like, "Oh, I pressed play."
I hit play. Yeah.
You're so cute.
Megan made fun of me on our regular Sipping Reality podcast.
I did.
Yes.
You went right for that record button, so I had to tell you I was proud of you.
Yeah, I finally. It's taken months and months.
It has.
But I'm there.
I'm there.
I'm there. Yeah.
I love that.
We have such an important topic to talk about today.
Yeah, we do.
That has really been on my mind deeply for about a week now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
We have to talk about this.
Yeah, it's super important.
And we've touched on boundaries, consent, all of that. If you're in the BDSM lifestyle, you have heard over and over again about boundaries and consent, I'm sure.
Yep.
But we really want to go into some very minute detail regarding it today.
Yep.
Based on our experience.
Yeah, and I think it's an important topic to go more in depth with, just because, I mean, it could get you into trouble both ways if you're not paying attention to someone's consent and boundaries, and or if you are not paying attention to your own.
Well, there's a reason why clubs and people that throw parties make you sign like extensive paperwork
before you get there
going. Mm-hmm. Because it's very important that they know that you're aware of all of the boundaries and consent for the party, and that you give consent prior to showing up, fully being aware that you're going to see and experience some things, and that you have the right to say no and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and leave.
Didn't even come out right.
It's fine.
Like blah, 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 blah,
blah, blah, blah.
That was better. I did it better.
Blah,
that
blah,
time.
blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I understood what you meant, though.
Oh. It was a little shaky, blah blah, but
it was a shaky blah blah.
It was. Okay.
That was funny.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think, do we want to go first in the direction of how we provide consent from ourselves, or how the other person should obtain consent? We have two sides of this that we want to talk about.
Let's talk about obtaining consent.
Okay, so yes, scenario, right? You are getting together with friends and doing a group play. Prior to that group play, it is important that everybody know and understand what's going to happen.
I just sat on my mic.
Oh, you did. It probably made a weird noise.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
So prior to playing with anybody, you need to really have an understanding of them.
And yourself, right?
Well, either way, yes, of yourself.
Right.
But if you're going to be, well, we're talking about from the person that's gaining the consent.
Okay,
got
you. Yep.
So if you're like the dom,
yep,
or you're running a group scene and you're kind of in charge in it, or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Or you're meeting up with somebody, but you're the more dominant one taking charge, the one that's going to take charge, right?
Yeah.
It's important not only for them to know you, but it's important for you to really know them.
Yes.
Because if you don't really know them, you're not going to know, first of all, what questions to ask them, what concerns they might have. And it's very likely that even if you gain full consent from them, they still may turn around and blame you for something.
Yes.
If they don't feel comfortable because they were unwilling to share themselves with you.
Right.
And that's something to be aware of. It's not just from the other perspective where somebody coming in as a sub or not in charge of a situation doesn't know you well and should have trust in you. You also have to have trust in the person that's submitting to you, that they are capable of sharing their boundaries with you.
Well, let's paint the picture here. So we're talking about like a group scene scenario,
or one-on-one.
I'm
just saying the person that's dominant in the room, the person that's taking charge.
Right.
not only does the person who's the submissive or not in charge, whether in a group or individual setting, need to be able to express their own boundaries for safety for them, and need to know the person in charge well enough to feel comfortable
Right.
to enter that situation, but also the person in charge, it's really important. So I have had a situation where I've been in an experience with somebody that ended up showing up that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I don't think I will ever do that again.
Never.
Because not knowing that person, I also, even though I'm the more dominant one and I am essentially in charge, I still have to have a mutual trust back.
The mutual trust being that the submissive party is vocal about things that they're not comfortable with.
Yes, because I can't read their mind. I don't know everything that they're thinking or that their needs are. And in that moment, I can't obtain that.
And we've talked about this before in a dom-sub relationship and scenario, that it is just important for the dom to trust that he can trust the sub to communicate their discomforts, likes, dislikes, just as much as the sub trusts the dom to stop if they were to withdraw their consent in any scenario.
Yes. I have a lot of men that reach out to me, and now that they have seen that I can sometimes take on a femdom role, they reach out to me and say, can I be your slave? Mm-hmm. I've never spoken to them before.
Right.
I don't know them and they don't know me. First of all, my first thought is why is this man trusting me? I could be anybody.
Right.
Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I can't take advantage of them or cross their boundaries or do something that will traumatize them. But on the other hand, I also don't know them.
Right.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
I don't know them. And for me, I would never engage with somebody or come into agreement with someone to be their dom. It's not what I'm looking for anyways. I am looking for a dominant male as
Right.
far as the relationship I'm looking for in my life. So I'm not looking to be a femdom anyways within a relationship.
Yeah.
It's fun and play with friends. I love it.
Of
I'd like
course.
to continue to have experiences like that, but it's not the type of relationship I'm looking for. And I just put that out there because I'm mostly getting attention from submissive men right now.
Well, it's
So
the
I'm
same.
putting it out there, dominant men, looking for you.
And it's the same thing for me. Like when, and we've talked about this too, when men reach out to me and be like, I'm your daddy. It's like,
It's the same.
I don't know you.
Yes.
In order for you to even have that title with me.
Yes.
That is an earned title.
Yes, so I'm talking about the flip side of that.
Right.
When a sub is willing
Male.
to come into
Or-
a situation,
male or female.
that whoever's dominant needs to also be aware that just because they're submissive doesn't mean that you can trust them.
Right.
Because if you do something, because this person clearly doesn't have a lot of value in themselves if they're offering themselves up so easily to someone they don't know, which means they also probably don't have the confidence in the moment when you're being dominant on them to feel comfortable to share their boundaries or share that they're uncomfortable. And then they can leave and go twist that on you, that you
Right.
did something to them.
Well,
when
this is why it's dangerous.
It is.
This is why it's dangerous. And for a couple reasons too. It's dangerous because if you have someone come into, let's say, a group scenario that you don't know, and they are not comfortable stating their boundaries, withdrawing their consent if something becomes uncomfortable for them and they're not able to communicate that.
Megan had been talking earlier that we need to really highlight you can withdraw your consent at any time, and that's what she's referencing.
Yes, you can withdraw your consent at any time, and you have to be able to communicate that though, but you have to know that you're with healthy people that will allow you to withdraw your consent.
Yes.
Okay, that is important too. And if you're with healthy people that will allow you to withdraw your consent at any time, you have to be the one that's responsible to communicate that because it's not on the other party.
Yeah, you already gave your consent.
Right.
So how are they going to know that you need to withdraw right now? You can't expect somebody else to be able to read your mind and know what you're feeling comfortable with in the moment.
Right.
And
it can be dangerous for the other people involved, because what someone that is not in a place to communicate that can do is blame, the other parties for doing something wrong.
And it happens. We've heard stories of it. We've touched on experience of it ourselves.
Now, I don't think this should be confused with scenarios like I've been through with men where I'm solo with.
Well, this is the difference. The difference is that sometimes somebody who's submissive could come into a situation where they're not comfortable, not voice that they're not comfortable, and still not be taken advantage of because they're around good people, and then they could go and slander those good people just because they felt uncomfortable. That can happen. But what Megan's about to talk about is a scenario where the submissive person comes in, the submissive person hasn't gotten to know that other person, they haven't stated their boundaries. In the moment, they're taken advantage of.
And without consent. I have been in a scenario where I didn't feel safe to say no. Or I did say no and it was not respected, and then it just continued. And then it turns into sexual assault. That
has only happened when engaging with people that you haven't gotten to know.
I didn't take the time to discern their character.
Which is why, which is the point of all of this, is whether you're the dominant one or you're the submissive one or you guys are equals, there should be a decent vetting process on both parties.
Yes.
For a dom to come in and say, I'm your daddy, like, you're putting yourself in danger because you don't know me.
Yeah, like that guy that I went on a date with that forced me to kiss him, and he's like, I'm your daddy. And I just met the guy.
You could go and do something against him. But he was forcing you. That was different. My point is somebody who actually is a decent human being and is a daddy could take on a sub too quickly, and you don't know that sub isn't going to use something against you. There has
not
to be,
communicate and then blame it on you.
This is the importance of not just role playing in BDSM, but actually creating and building true dynamics. And it could still be casual. You could just develop a friendship and understanding of each other, and still just, if you both agree mutually to casual sex and casual BDSM play, it can still be casual. We're not saying you have to be in this long-term relationship with somebody to engage, but you do have to do a vetting process, or you're putting yourself at risk.
And I think it could go for submissive males and females. And I think in the society, probably more towards a higher percentage of females that already feel like we're not comfortable enough to speak up for ourselves. And that can put a dominant person who's even healthy in a dangerous position if they are with someone that they can't trust to speak up for themselves, because they could turn around and say, well, you did this and
I've known men that
I didn't want you to.
Wouldn't be able to speak up either.
I know men. Well, that's why I say I think it's a higher percentage of women, but I know that there are some males that struggle with speaking up for themselves too.
Yes.
So it's not a gender-based thing.
It's not gender-based, but it's just there is a little gender bias in it because women have been taught, as we've shared before, to not speak up in certain situations.
Well, we've been taught to
let people love you, let people hug you.
I'm going to sacrifice my feelings so I don't make this person uncomfortable. That is the general consensus that little girls are taught.
Yes.
I'm going to hug my uncle even though I don't feel comfortable hugging him because everybody's telling me I have to hug him so he doesn't feel bad.
Yes.
That happens a lot, I think, more to little girls than little boys, but I know it does happen to boys too. So
yes. Agreed.
But yeah, no, you can find yourself, I think, in a really sticky situation in a dominant position if you don't have that relationship and that trust with your submissive partner.
And so now the other side of it. Let's talk about the individual. So I'm the submissive and I'm walking into a scene where there's 5 people or 2 people or just one other person, whatever. And I'm walking in and I know I'm about to engage in a pre-planned, pre-talked about, hey, we're going to have sex tonight. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, whatever. And I walk in there and I don't have any foundation in knowing who I am. I have no healing. I don't know who I am. I'm putting myself at risk just walking into that room.
Right. And them. Because you're not...
Yes, but we're talking the other side now.
Okay.
This is the side from the individual, since we already addressed that.
Right, okay, gotcha.
Yes. So this is where we have touched on, just briefly touched on, but I really want to accentuate right now the importance of stepping back if you are engaging in a sexual lifestyle and you don't have a good foundation of who you are.
You don't have healing. Yeah.
Because
it's going to re-traumatize you.
Well,
if you put yourself in these scenarios.
You can be re-traumatized, and you can also, it's also much riskier as far as the type of situations that you're placing yourself in.
Yeah, because, I mean, I've seen scenarios at sex clubs, you know, where someone doesn't have good boundaries for themselves and a stranger comes up and just, you know.
I have watched that happen.
I have too.
Yes, and the woman just engages with a man she doesn't even know
and goes off and is alone.
Yeah, it's very scary because they don't know how to say no.
Yeah, and that's very dangerous.
It is, and you can't have somebody that's next to your side 100% of the time. At some point, they're gonna have to use the restroom, or they're gonna have to do something. Like, we have to take responsibility for our own healing and for our own self-worth. Yeah. Nobody else can make you feel worthy of yourself. They might make you feel good about yourself in the moment, but no other human being can fill you with self-worth. No. You are the only one that can do it.
That can only come within.
I could never have engaged in the things I've engaged in the last few months if I hadn't grown in myself to the place that I'm at now.
Yeah.
And it's actually caused a lot of healing for me.
Yeah, me too.
I have healed deeply and grown extensively due to my engagement in BDSM. But I also know myself well enough that if I had engaged a year prior, 2 years prior, it actually may have helped to destroy me.
Yeah, it would have been super triggering, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's...
I mean, I've as much healing as I've had, I've still broken down my boundaries sometimes and my rules for myself, which has, you know, has hurt me a couple times.
Yes, you can't. It's like, oh, I don't engage with men who don't have full profiles, and then I engage with somebody that doesn't have a full profile. Well, you're spinning a wheel of risk.
Yeah.
You're spinning a wheel. So if they don't have a full profile, but you're getting a good vibe from them, then vet them twice as much as you'd vet somebody else.
Right.
We have to have those boundaries, just because we don't want to assume because somebody doesn't have a full profile. That's a red flag for me and Megan, by the way. If you don't have a full filled out profile, it has become a red flag for us.
And of somebody asking me for a massage.
Well, we can get into all of them. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But if somebody doesn't have a full filled out profile, I also don't want to assume that means that you're a bad guy, because there's some people who literally just are nervous to get on there. They're new, they just don't know, they're just feeling out. They could be a decent guy.
Yeah.
And I just say guy because I date men personally, so no judgment or no not leaving anyone else out who dates women or whatever. Again, just I date men, so that's where the place I talk from. But so this guy, and so instead of just saying, well, I'm just not going to talk to him, and having too strong of a boundary, we just talked about this on our regular Sipping Reality episode called Unshakable, that too strong boundaries is unhealthy too, because now I might miss out on a really awesome guy.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to do that. So what I do instead is say, hey, you don't have a profile. You're going to have to, like, really give me some good information about you. Like, we're going to really have to talk here before I'm even willing to actually chat with you and engage with you and talk to you. And it's just a deeper, more stringent vetting process. And it's not to try and judge people. It's because it's necessary to protect myself.
Exactly.
And I'm worthy of that protection, so I'm going to do that for myself today.
Exactly. And, you know, I've kept myself fairly safe over the last couple of years in the lifestyle. And, you know, those stupid moments where I know better, I'm not blaming myself for the things that have happened to me, the sexual assault that's happened to me. But at the same time, I knew better. And I know that I let my boundaries down and I compromised. That's the best word to use.
Well, it wouldn't have happened if you didn't set your boundaries down.
In a moment, I compromised, but I knew that there was a boundary to hold myself in that safety and self-worth that I then compromised. And I can see that I did that. And if I hadn't, I would have been safe. So again, not to blame myself, but there is a measure of self-worth and safety that we have to uphold for ourselves in the lifestyle in order to obtain that.
And those men were still wrong, and they were still vile,
right?
And they took advantage of the fact that a boundary was let down, and that is unexcusable.
I still expected them to be a good person.
There are things that we can do, like understand that not just because all people are nice to our face doesn't mean that they're actually a good person.
Exactly.
And we don't let our boundaries down, and we hold them. But on the other end, just because somebody let their boundaries down does not give anyone else the right to take advantage of that, and does not make it okay. We are not
victim blaming.
So yes, it's not a victim blaming. It's just saying if you have ever been a victim or potentially could be by engaging in this type of lifestyle, it's important to know these things and understand them.
Right.
And that's the conclusion of the episode today, really.
Yeah.
We went full circle right into it. That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really good one today. It was a super important topic.
So happy spanking!
Happy spanking!
Go out and have some fun now!
Be safe.
And if you're safe and you're a daddy, call me.
Right? Seriously. We are in the open market.
We're in the open market.
We are in the open market.
With healthy boundaries.
Yes.
And a lot of self-worth. So
yes.
Make sure you have the same if you're going to engage with
Bring
us.
it.
Bring it on, baby.
Bring it. All right, well, we love you guys. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. Life. Don't forget to life.
Yeah, don't life.
Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll talk to you soon.